beginning point, okay? Especially right now, this is pointed to students. As students, you're going to have a beginning point that gets you excited about chiropractic. It's going to be one of these three legs. It's going to be one of these three arms. For me, I was about halfway through Palmer, and I had worked in a chiropractic office in undergrad. I had seen all sorts of amazing miracles when I was there. I started to understand things. I had done all sorts of seminars. I always followed successful chiropractors. But yet, halfway through Palmer, I was a freaking subluxated mess in my ability to communicate or even know what the hell I was doing because nobody had answered the science behind the subluxation for me. Again, I'm not here to go against schools. I'm not here to get into our whole educational issues we have in this. Again, not just within schools, but as a profession, the educational issues we have. But literally at Palmer, here's how it went down. In our philosophy class, and I'm a damn good student, all right? I always have been, and so I pay attention. And in our philosophy class, they basically gave us a handout that had 14 different models of subluxation. There was the 5-part, there was the 7-part, there was the, if the bone gets out of place and it's T4, that's the nerve that goes to your heart and you die model, all right? There was that model. And basically, the interpretation from the instructor I had at Palmer was this. We really don't know which one of these is actually true. We haven't really taken the time to figure that out yet, so you just pick whichever one you think sounds the coolest, learn how to communicate that and run with it. And I had a little bit of an issue with that because I've always been a guy, before I really knew about the word and its real context, I now know that I was always a guy that I'm not a good faker. Okay? I need certainty. I need to know that I know that I know before I can go out in the world and tell other people that they need to know what I know and do what I do. So where this long story is going, about halfway through school, one of my buddies, Steve Nagel, hell of a chiropractor now, handed me Chestnut's book, The 14 Foundational Premises of the Vertebral Subluxation Complex. And finally, through the disapparentation model, I've since expanded upon that because I've gotten into my philosophy notes already, but here's where we're starting. As soon as I read that book, all my green lights on my certainty with my science went through the roof. That was what I needed. That's where I was like, hell yes, now I understand what I'm doing with this adjustment. Now I understand what the science is. Now I understand why subluxation sucks so bad. And I need to make sure anybody I ever come across that I take care of that for them, or at least try to tell them about it and give them an opportunity to do something about it. So for me, science was my entry point into certainty. Okay? That's where my certainty meter went high. That's what I ran with as I went through practice. I was also at Palmer. We had, again, it's changing, as many things are in the profession. We had really damn good technique instructors, and I really sought out the Gonstead system during my early years, and I really, really focused on my art and became obsessed with being good at adjusting. And I practiced a lot of setups outside of school. Seriously, really good at setting up. Which is why still today my wife, when I go to adjust her, and I'm sitting, she's like, no, she doesn't. She was the setup tester. And, but one thing, where my long story is going is because if you do this, good Lord, will it help you. The thing I had always left weak, and it's the thing that now over the last year and a half to almost 2 years, I've really put focus on, and it's taken the good that I was doing and just hit epic proportions of all things in my life. I had never spent time studying our philosophy. I had kind of had, I think, a good amount of it kind of come, I guess we use just the term by osmosis, by being in that Gonstead system, by really getting around a lot of people who loved our science. But I never, and I'm a student, I'm a learner, I never really put the time and the effort to not just read stuff about our philosophy, not just really talk about our philosophy, but actually understand it. See, this is another thing, this is probably, I said I don't do this, though, it's like the second time, a good thing to maybe write down. The whole saying, knowledge is power, is a bunch of crap. There's a lot of people in this world that know a whole lot of useless shit, all right? The SHIT, spell it out for a little bit here, all right? That's what you do when you have topics. They know a whole lot of useless stuff, or they know a whole lot of stuff that could be useful, but they're clueless in their ability to apply it. So even if you write this word down tonight and you don't quite get what it means, but you spend time learning what it means, applicability, okay? In this chiropractic profession, good Lord, do we have a lot of information and a lot of stuff out there that you can get inundated with. But whatever you do, if you don't learn how to take your knowledge and apply it, meaning do something with it, it's pretty much useless. That's what the philosophy did for me. Over the last year and a half, and Barge's book, Life Without Fear, that has been a major, 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 to be cliche, game changer for me. It has completely allowed my communication to hit a couple more points. It's taken my clarity. I got rid of all my distractions. I got rid of all the crap that was holding me back. And we have just absolutely engaged in things like we've never done before once we studied that. So if you get nothing else out of tonight other than this first slide, you cannot gain the level of certainty in chiropractic that I would beg you guys to gain if you leave any of these. We'll stick to the stool analogy just for the sake of it. If you leave any of those legs weak. And you sure as heck, if you understand that roots analogy with our philosophy, you sure as heck won't have the level of success that you may really be dying for, that you may really have signed up 8 years of your life and damn near $200,000 of your dollars to do if you don't hit full uncertainty in each layer of these. Don't leave one of them weak, okay? And that doesn't mean, and that's why I wanted to tell you my story, that doesn't mean if you're in fourth quarter, if you're in 10th quarter, if you're about to graduate, it doesn't mean wherever you are that they have to be perfect right now. They will never be perfect. In fact, you always have to be moving forward, okay? But you have to be working on all of them. If you have one right now that is your focus, that you really want to learn to be really damn good at your technique and you're spending a lot of time on that, awesome. Get to a point where you're very confident, then keep filling it in with the science and the philosophy behind it, all right? But just make sure you understand that you can't be short without all three. And to give you a little bit of clarity on why this is so important, besides my ranting at you, I want to read you a really, and this is awesome. Here's why Brock and Pam are with us tonight. Here's why when I get to do this stuff, it's so, I can't even believe that I get to be a part of these sort of things. I still feel like literally I'm just beginning in this whole journey of being a chiropractor. But why CLA, Chiropractic Leadership Alliance, and a company like that is so damn good, because they have always been a company that has a very clear point that was very much steeped in chiropractic. So much so that when I forgot to bring my Life Without Fear book to read this, I call it the passage. It's like, the green books. This is an analogy. Sean Dill told me this. He's like, would you ever go to a freaking preacher? Would you go to a church where the pastor or the preacher or the priest hadn't read the Bible? That'd be a little jacked up, right? If a guy's telling him that and he's like, I read Genesis. I got it. I'm good with that. So why the hell would anybody in your community go to a chiropractor? I probably shouldn't say that word when I'm using a Bible reference. But why would anybody go to a chiropractor who hasn't read something called the chiropractic textbook? If you only read one book in green, well, I implore you to read two. That one that I had on the screen, Life Without Fear, that has a green cover, and then one that's called the chiropractic textbook. Don't overthink that, ladies and gentlemen. That means it's about chiropractic, all right? And no, it's not on Part 1 boards. It should be. We wouldn't be at 3.4% if it was. All right. So what's cool with it? When I wanted to find this Marinus paper that is a huge part of the beginning of Barge's book, and Google it, because Caleb fell through on me and they gave me a copy of it. Caleb, you are old too, bro. I found it on CLA's website, subluxation.com. Is it also a pretty dang good site if the company has bought the URL, subluxation.com? It's not rocktape.com or, things of that nature. They might know a little bit about chiropractic. But here's where I'm going with this, and you should hunt this paper down and read the whole thing. You can find it. I found that too. It's easy to find online too. It's been scanned and put on the old internet, as most everything is. But it's a paper by this guy from 1980, this Dr. E.A. Marinus. And he wrote a paper, and here's an excerpt from it that I don't like to usually just read straight from slides, but this is so poignant to the conversation I'm going to have with you guys tonight. Only the chiropractic philosophy significantly distinguishes the chiropractic practitioner, and yet the philosophy is kept hidden away. It has done so in fear of being labeled quackery, and this was undoubtedly a good strategy to follow at one time. That's even debatable, I think. The public knows next to nothing of chiropractic philosophy of healing and its mechanisms. If hospitals offer spinal manipulation, a chiropractor offers nothing else. This distortion of the chiropractic tradition can only be overcome by a reevaluation of the place of theory. What's another word for theory in this conversation? Yes, philosophy. In chiropractic. I got you fired up. I like it. Dispossessed of its philosophy, chiropractic is dispossessed of its uniqueness and perhaps its future. I really honestly, this is where it all comes together. This statement that Marinus put in his paper, that hit me right between the eyes. What Marinas is discussing in this paper, and the next one is pretty good to read too, uses some fancy words that are a little bit outside my realm, so I'll just leave those be, the core guy. But when we look at this, what Marinas was really discussing is what our profession has done in an attempt to gain acceptance, to gain a tiny little seat at the table, right? We're getting up on holiday time. Anybody have when you go to your grandparents, right? As the family expands, they have like you're the boss, your grandpa, you get to sit at this table, and maybe the direct kids, and then there's the kid table, and then there's the grandkid table. Anybody have that, right? Mm-hmm. So what chiropractic has sought to do, as we put our philosophy locked away in the basement as far as our public perception, for fear that we wouldn't be accepted, and it's sought to just become another treatment option for back pain, neck pain, and headache. What we've done is we said, well, that will gain us a seat at the table because we're really good at back pain, neck pain, and headache. We have so much research for low back pain. So does walking. All right? So what happened is, even if we get a seat at that table, my analogy was, it isn't even going to be at the grandkids' table, all right? You're not even going to be like with the toddler who's like spitting up baby food, all right? That table doesn't care about us. Even if we get on it, guess who else is already there? Physical therapists. They got more money, they got more clout. Guess who else is already there? Massage therapists. Guess who else is already there? Freaking infomercials with vibrating things you strap to your abs to train you more. So do you really want to leave this school, 8 years and $200,000 of your money, and go swimming upstream in competition for low back pain, neck pain, and headache? Do you really want to leave your philosophy hidden so you're just another treatment option? You know why people drive over an hour, well over an hour? You know why next, when I get back on Monday, why my first patient on Monday is a kid with sensory processing disorder flying from Colorado who's going to spend 2 weeks staying in a hotel in Crystal Lake so they can get taken care of by us? Not because I do a whole bunch of other stuff, because I do one thing really freaking well. And not because, also, it's from Donuts, not because I'm another treatment option for sensory processing disorder, not because I put it out to the world that I allopathically treat ADHD, or treat autism, or treat sensory, or treat seizures, because there's something unique about what I do. Because everything that I discuss, whether on my website, whether on a workshop, or whether I talk to any patient, anybody, anywhere, is I am obsessed with getting to the root cause of things. I am obsessed with getting restoration back to my patients. I am obsessed with understanding that their system, their nervous system, is the root cause of their disease, and I project that to the community, and I project that to now the country. And what these moms and these parents everywhere are tuning into is, holy shit, I don't know about that yet, but that sounds different. See, do we not dig different, right? Why does everybody go to the restaurant when it first opens up, right? Why is it impossible to get a seat at a new restaurant the first 3 to 4 weeks, but yet they can go out of business 2 years later? What I'm talking about, what I'm trying to tie together for you guys, and I hope you're seeing, is that literally it's your philosophy and your ability to be certain about it, your ability to communicate it, and your ability to be clear about it that will set you apart, not just from other chiropractors in your community. That'll be the easiest thing you have to do, okay? It is what will set you apart from everything else that's out there. See, what chiropractic screwed up is it said we don't need our foundation. It said we don't need our roots. We can just be allopathic. We can just treat things. Guys, you are not natural allopaths. You are chiropractors. And chiropractors have to exist with their philosophy firmly planted on their sleeve, firmly planted on their shirt. That is what sets the most successful practices apart. And I will tell you, in the world, again, that's why I'm here tonight. That's what's different about my conversation as we take it one step further. What's different and what is so needed in the world of pediatric healthcare, we're almost did it. Not quite yet. I don't think we haven't tapped out the first hour yet. Can't talk that well. All right? We're not freaking Ebola and the flu and lice is at pandemic proportions. All right? Maybe in Georgia. But we're autism, ADHD, where now 1 in 25 boys has autism, and that's actually about 5-year-old data. A child, about 1 in 18 to 20 are the stats right now. Boys born right now will get autism. 1 in 20. You know what's in an average classroom? About 25, 30 kids. So that means 1, 1.5, 2 kids in every single classroom will be completely nonverbal, non-social, and have all sorts of healthcare challenges. Was that there a generation ago? Some of you that may be a little more older. Was that there when I was going to school? Was it even there when you were going to school? No. Was there 3 kids that had such severe peanut allergies that you couldn't even bring peanut butter into school? Was there 3 kids that needed an inhaler just to step outside? Guys, what's happened is our kids have gotten so damn sick because they've gotten so damn subluxated because of the world we live in, and because chiropractors aren't doing a damn thing about it, that the number one thing that those parents out there who are suffering, whose kid is up at night screaming with colic, whose kid is up at night screaming with an ear infection, whose kid is 3 years old, I love this work and I hate it too. I absolutely hate that I have to do it and I have to talk about it. Because what really motivates me is what I was about to say, why I lose it for a second there. It's for a kid who's 3 years old or 5 years old or 15 years old and has never looked at his mother in the eye and told her that she loved him. Because he's been locked away in autism for his entire life. If you have kids, compare and contrast that, especially if you have chiropractic kids. Because there's a different potential. It's not BS shit that people say from the it's not crap that people say from the stage that chiropractic kids have this shine in their eye. There's freaking science to that, okay? There's an exact neurological component to why. And when I was in your seats, I remember a chiropractor saying, you put me in a room full of 100 kids, and if 5 of them got chiropractic care, I could pick those 5 out with absolute certainty, and I used to think that was BS. Not anymore. If this room, if this auditorium, each of those seats were filled up with kids, and there was 2 of them that were soft, that were getting adjusted, well, obviously they're getting adjusted by me, different story. But a really good pediatric chiropractor, I could pick those 2 kids out. See, this stuff that I'm talking about, it carries a different tone. It's one of my favorite chiropractic words. You know, some words we got to bring back into chiropractic lexicon is not freaking treatment, not ICD 115.6 or whatever, I don't know. You know, I don't know about the ICD codes because in the pediatric practice and veteran practice, you can be all cash. Remember the Randy Moss, anybody that video? Yeah. How are you going to pay your client, Randy? Straight cash, always. Right. I got to find that clip for those that I'm also going to fans and silver players. But why this matters is because those kids and those parents who are up awake at night, that mom who, even if it's been 15 years, I promise you, I have a practice full of them, will not stop seeking an answer to unlock her child. That mom with colic who hasn't slept in 6 months, and instead of enjoying the beauty that is being a parent and having a baby, is dreading it, stressing it, and feeling guilty about it. The reason they will seek you out, what they want from you, is they want you to be freaking unique, guys. They want you to be different. You didn't go to chiropractic school to be another version of treatment for back pain, okay? You didn't go to chiropractic school to be another wellness expert, all right? Go back into your community, go to freaking juiceplus.com, see if they have a directory, and I guarantee you will find auto mechanics, stay-at-home moms, and massage therapists who are wellness experts all over in your community. God bless wellness. I freaking love it, all right? I do it, in a sense, in my practice later on, okay? But you will not stand out in your community if you use the same philosophy that medicine does. You will not stand out in your community if you do what everybody else or anybody else can. You will stand out in your community and you will have ridiculous amounts of success. We're paying back that loan and saying, hell yeah, that time in Marietta was well worth it for me, by being unique. And you will be unique by having a hell of a lot of certainty in your science, your philosophy, and your art of what you do. So that's your homework this weekend. After you attend my lecture tomorrow morning at 9. Alright? Which I don't really know it's at 9, it might be at 10. Anybody know?
It's 10.
10? Thank you. Perfect. I don't know, I was pointed at you. Alright. I literally only discovered it in my last talk that this thing has a laser pointer. And now, being an 18-year-old kid, a little impulsive, probably should have got adjustment today. I can't stop pushing it. Alright? If I could push it and chase it at the same time, I would do that. Alright. Okay. We're going to get into some practical stuff now. So we're rounding the time, and I want to get to a break too, where you guys can stand up for a few minutes and grab more food if you want, and I can even share just a little bit about this other stuff with you. But first, this will be a perfect intro into where I'm going with this. And we've already really covered this, but this is a very, very functional tip, and this is a little bit of a slippery slope. This is a conversation within chiropractic that's a popular one, that is very much misconstrued, that is very political, that is very heated. What I'm saying in this, when I say important side note, here's the things not to build your clarity in. I already kind of just finished that up just a second ago, because what I'm saying is, not that that stuff is not bad. My kids take a standard process multivitamin. Not that hyperbaric oxygen chamber, occupational therapy, neurointegrative exercises, have corrective care, cervical curve improvements, foam rollers, CrossFit, Vitamix, and green smoothies aren't good for people. But what I'm telling you is they're not necessarily chiropractic, and they sure as aren't necessarily the thing that people can only get from you. See, what I'm really, really trying to drive home about this point is I went into practice, and here's how I was taught, okay? And here's why I'm also passionate about what we do with pediatrics, because you can probably imagine with the way I'm wired, with how our program is wired. But when I got into this work with autism, ADHD, and pediatrics, when I decided that that was going to be my thing, and again, I already kind of had this foundation of wellness to me, when I went into different training programs that are out there, what I was really, and again, I'm always a good student. I take and I apply. It's what I do. It's what I've done. What I was taught, what I was told, is essentially this. This was my interpretation of it, and I'll tell you it's a pretty damn accurate one. Hey, if you want to work with autism kids, ADHD kids, ear infection kids, but especially this kind of sensory spectrum work, well, you're already a chiropractor, so you must already know chiropractic, and you should adjust them. That's good. That's nice. But you also need to become an expert nutritionist, biomedical interventionist, detoxification expert. You need to become an expert in neurointegrative exercises, primitive reflexive awakening. You need to become Dr. Frickin' Phil and counsel this family and make sure that they feel good and warm and fuzzy inside, and that their chi is connected to their spirit and the moon. And you can tell I'm really an expert in that stuff. I started on that a little bit there. I didn't know how to make a joke about that stuff. I don't know enough about it. But where I'm going with this is I then said, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do to help these kids? Well, what I do is I go right back into practice and I apply it. So what I did is I spent $50,000 to completely remodel my practice so that I could have a gigantic rehab room and I could do things like CrossFit for my 45-year-old, metabolic patient syndrome, and I could do neurointegrative exercises for my 5-year-old sensory patients, and I hired another chiropractor who I wouldn't let adjust my worst enemy because he told me this is how backwards I got it. Because when I met him, and here's how freaking jaded I was, I still hired this guy in my clinic. When I met him, he went to a different school in Chicago. We'll leave it at that. And he said, I'm not really into the adjustment thing. Would you? All right. But I really love internal medicine and biomedical stuff. But what I was taught, where this all ropes together, and again, I had a damn good path, but you have to stay so laser focused. What I was taught that to take care of these kids, well, there's the gut-brain connection and there's all this sort of stuff, so you need to do all this for them. So I put all that into my clinic. I spent $50,000 to remodel my clinic. I spent thousands of dollars on supplements. I had this guy come in. We had consultation. I built the most convoluted, complex, distracted clinic you could ever imagine. And I woke up one day and I realized two freaking things. Why the hell are the kids that I take care of not getting the results that they used to? Why is it taking longer? Why am I not getting results at the level I used to? And then for my business, for paying back that $175,000, why is QuickBooks telling me that even though we're doing so much more, I have a whole lot less that's going to my wife, myself, and my kids? Because this stuff is fantastic stuff. Really great stuff for an OT to do. Really great stuff for a nutritionist to do. Really great thing for you to go into your community and build a hell of a good network of people who do these things that other people need. And they're also really good people. You know how the #1 answer on your board exam is to refer out? It's kind of accurate, but not for the stuff that they're talking about. Okay? What I'm getting at is, if somebody wants to they need to clean up their nutrition, find somebody who's really freaking good at doing that. Because versus you sitting down and spending 45 to 60 minutes, which is only about 1% of what they probably need to know about nutrition, instead of you sitting down and spending 45 to 60 minutes of your time, when in my office I could have adjusted 20 to 25 people, and if, for those of you who like to run math and judge, just so you know, I adjust 4, 5, 6 people at a time, not that way, because it's a family practice. You want to see a lot of people high volume and do it in a way that they still get high touch, high care, high compassion, high conversation. Do it in families, because there's 4, 5, 6, and they just cycle on the table. So what I'm saying is, this stuff is fantastic, but this stuff will distract you from what you really should, could, and can make the most impact doing as a chiropractor. And I did it. So you know what I did last December, so about a year ago from now? Spent another $50,000 to literally remodel my freaking clinic back to the way I had it. I'm not kidding you. So I am over 6 figures in debt. Well, we paid cash for this last go around with it, but from things that I didn't do. So if you're writing something down, be like, whatever the hell Tony did, it cost him $100,000. Don't do that. So here's what I spent some of that money on, too, because here's where this all wraps together. What was actually that $100,000 I spent, if we stay in a numerical financial just analogy for a second, I promise you that $100,000 will turn into that mistake that I learned from, because really honestly, if we put it together, there really isn't mistakes if you learn from them and you do another one of my favorite chiropractic words, adapt from them and change things. So what I learned by doing what I didn't want to do and really going hot and heavy into it is it became very clear for me of doing what I do want to do. So when I remodeled my practice, I decided, here's what I want to do. I no longer want to accept insurance because I've become one of the best people in the world at taking care of these kids. And if anybody will pay cash and if anybody will drive any distance or even fly any distance for something, it will be for their kid. Okay? You want to run a cash practice, you want to have that whole conversation, see a ton of kids. Easiest way to possibly do it. 45-year-old Johnny with low back pain, guess what he's got? He not only has 45 years of bad habits programmed into his head, but he has 45 years of what you're supposed to accept my insurance programmed into his head. You can swim upstream and fight against that. You can memorize scripts. You can overcome objections. You can go to trainings for that and do that if you want. Fine, do it. It's not what I do, okay? The issue of insurance isn't an issue in my practice because people at that time, we tell them how much it costs, they are already begging us. And I'm not trying to be the freaking stage guy full of hyperbole and BS. They are literally already saying, let's get them adjusted. When can I get a scan? Can I get a sister scan too? Okay? They're not worried about that stuff when you do it right. And the other reason that I have this, and I want to spend some time on this, and it's hard for me to not continue to have tangents and divergence and Brock's folds, I thought I was going to mess with it. I had to say that so you give you a hard time. I think he really wants to go to bed. Is that what's going on? No, I'm messing with you. He's the nicest freaking guy in the world. But what I did when I changed this up, as I said, what I want to do is I don't want to accept insurance. And what I want to do is one thing, and I want to do it really well, and I want to do a lot of it. Adjust. But here's an important practical tip. Again, applicability. In order to become a damn good adjuster, and in order to also become a damn good communicator as to why somebody needs to be adjusted, you better get up to speed with 2014. Most of you probably have your iPhone, your Samsung, your Galaxy. You'll go home, I'm sure you're going to study tonight, you'll take notes on your iPad, you'll use your MacBook, you'll tap in, you'll Skype somebody. This is the freaking iPhone age. If you are going to try and practice, and then I'm going to carry this tune a little bit deeper again, and then we're going to take just a break a minute, and we're going to come back while Brock share a little bit about this stuff too. But if you want to carry this tune to 2014 of saying kids have their parents who grew up in the technological age. They are used to metrics. They are used to scans. They are used to imaging. They are used to technology. If you think you can go into any sort of practice, but especially go into a pediatric practice where you want to see babies, you want to see kids with ADHD, you want to see kids with autism, you want to see kids with allergies, but they've been to Children's, they've been to Mayo, they've been to Lutheran General, they've been to an allergist, they've been to an immunologist, they've been to a neurologist, and they've had all this sort of stuff. And if you think you can roll into practice and go, you see that one? That one's stuck. It's out of alignment. And that nerve goes to that thing that's really not supposed to work the way it is. So if I adjust that, your child will be well. Good luck. When people email me, it's the world of Facebook, right? And for those of you that maybe have messaged me, I did pretty good here to get back to you. I get a lot of messages, a lot of emails, so people can send me Facebook messages all the time. And you can't stop it. And I get these questions all the time from, and I can tell about how many kids they see in their practice and how they operate. When they go, hey, I have this 5-year-old with ADHD that's coming into my office next week. What do you suggest I do? That's a kind of open-ended question. But where I'm going with this is I have built such a system, and we have such an opportunity now within chiropractic based upon these scans, based upon the technology that was not available to DE, BJ. Again, they tried to develop it, right? I mean, do you remember Palmer and the computer? You should see the museum at Palmer, some of these technologies that they adapted and built back then. We are now in 2014. This work that we do in pediatrics, because again, it ain't about x-rays with an infant with colic. It's not about a good luck trying to x-ray a raging bull, ADHD, or autism kid. It's about technology. It's about scans. Where you will gain your certainty, and here's the last thing I'll say about it, then Brock, I want you to share some stuff with them. Then we'll literally kind of take a short break, and we'll circle back and finish tonight. What I would tell you about this technology, the last thing that's so damn important, and again, I don't even know what you have at life or what you don't have, or where you came into chiropractic. This technology is absolutely not so you can go to Walmart, Costco, or the county fair on the weekend and scan fat people with Diet Cokes and hot dogs and frozen Snickers and see the scan light up and say red is bad, scare them into care, go, don't worry, it's free if you sign up today because this exam, I paid $15,000 for this thing and $175,000 for my education in 8 years of my life, but I'll do what I do for free, and then you come in the clinic and it's only $20 for your first adjustment and you get a massage and I'll high-five you at the same time. That's not what this technology is for. This is clinical diagnostic CSI sort of stuff. This technology, soon to be doctors, is for doctoring, okay? It's not when I'm here this weekend, you'll see a lot of it come alive, actually tomorrow on the Perfect Storm. The level of analysis, the level of insight I get into the subluxation complex, the level of accuracy that I can put into my care with the Insight substation, with the thermal scans and EMG, to those of you who love to adjust and love to be damn good at it, it would make you absolutely lose your mind. Because this is the stuff that should be taught in school. This is the stuff that makes our art come alive. See, the scans are first for me. There's a little thing called pattern and interpretation that is also a long-lost art in chiropractic that is still alive with this damn thing. And when you learn that, it's for you first because you get to look at a case, you get to look at a scans, and you get to say with certainty, I know exactly what's going on with this kid or this person's nervous system. I know exactly how to communicate it to them as to what's going on, what I need to do about it. And then the beauty of the technology, too, I could literally do a freaking 4-hour talk on this thing, is you get to continue to watch it. Because, again, what I talk about with you so far tonight, this isn't about treating ADHD, this isn't about allopath, this isn't about the ADHD is there and then it goes away. This is about the subluxation, the nerve interference is there and then it goes away. This is about, are you really putting your mouth where your money where your mouth is, and are you really proving that you're actually making change in the nervous system? Do you really see neurological function on an x-ray? So, long story short, who's familiar even a little bit with the Insight on it? Awesome. So Brock, if you could share 2 minutes on it, then we'll let you guys get up. Lawson's going to overhead squat every single one of us, and then we're going to get back to work.
Can we hear for Tony?
He's got
I remember tomorrow he's going to be over at my vision at the Marriott for 3 hours, so in the morning. So is anybody going to try to make that? It's only $25, but I'm going to hand out these sheets here for anybody who wants to go. We wrote on the back, Jill Lamar said, we put Tony's name on the back and put 25 and get it for $25. I don't know how much there's a couple hundred to go normally. Anybody going to go? I'll hand it back. I'll give it to you when I get back.
You know, put a bunch of them
I'll put some back there.
Put them on the table when we're done.
I just don't want people to fly out and not get one. Anybody else?
I'll put it back there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
So we do have, by the way, the technology, there's 5 technologies that we have. There's the wireless thermal that Tony uses a lot with Pediatric. He actually set a protocol in our software now that is segmental thermal rather than using the wheel. We do level by level. The levels he shows, I think there are 10 of them. 10 levels. That he shows that are the optimal levels to measure in our children.
And the uniqueness of doing a segmental scan on a squirmy infant or a kid with ADHD is their sensory issues mean that this moment you touch them, especially on their hyperexcitable, already subluxated extensor muscles, they don't like that. So even the roller doesn't seem like much, but now that we can take it and do segmental, and because they're preset, again, I also was playing around, I was doing a conversation called the 3 E's. One of them is called efficiency, that thing, and not having, again, you think, did the wireless telephone, the mobile telephone kind of revolution revolutionize things a little bit, I think. So that wireless thermal in and of itself is key with pediatrics.
So we also have heart rate variability. All these things, by the way, are in the clinic. There's 4 of them in the clinic. So you'll get, those who haven't gotten there yet, you're going to have an opportunity to play with them and use them yourself. Also, Susan Esposito teaches an advanced instrumentation. She's got 3 of them in there.
Do you get to, can you do that as part of your clinical care plan here? Can you run a substation scan?
This is the only college in the world that teaches this technology in the core curriculum. Parker has the equipment, so they have like 20 of them, but they don't actually teach it in the core. They just have the students come in the clinic and figure it out themselves. So you guys are really in great shape with that. You know, most chiropractors come out of school and their friends say you need to get an insight, and they're by sight unseen. Whether you get one or not, you can try in here and see what you think about it. And by the way, I want to give you my email address, because I'll email marketing strategies, scripts, the science behind the technologies. I got all that stuff. I'll email to you. It's brock@subluxation.com. BROCK at subluxation.com. Real simple. And just say, Brock, I heard you. Send me the science or send me the marketing. I got marketing materials, documentation I can email. Happy to do it. Okay, that's part of the deal. So I wanted to mention also, it's not $15,000. If you bought everything, all 5 technologies.
Something else.
All right. It is, actually, if you bought all 5 technologies, which is EMG, heart rate variability, the thermal, the inclinometer for range of motion, and an algometer for vertebral joint sensitivity, that's all over in the school too. That would run you about 15, but you can start with the thermal for under 5.
Okay. Can I speak again? What I want to do for the last hour of this, again, was to literally have you take home stuff. I don't fly here and leave my 4 beautiful little babies and my smoking hot wife to not make some change for this profession and this practice. And I'm also passionate about dealing with students much more than old, crusty chiropractors who have 35 years of bad programming in chiropractic. I am swimming upstream, downstream. Right, or come up with a new analogy. I'm swimming downstream by teaching you guys. So quick, very important practical point on technology. I didn't start with the latest version, newest version. I mean, I was coming out of school too, right? I had data. I had to be wise with it. If you want to see kids, if you start with nothing other than a thermal, the interpretation of the patterns, and specifically if you ever dive into Ebel Pediatrics, we're the only program that teaches, the only program in pediatrics that teaches scan interpretation, application, communication. Just the thermal is a fantastic way to start. Then you can add pieces as you go along. I mean, I just added the core score, 3 years ago, and bought another one, last year, so.
Yeah, so the core score is EMG, thermal, and heart rate. Now, you do not have that at the school as far as the report. It's a web-based report that you can actually pull up from any internet-based computer, including a tablet, and show a patient a table side. So the core score is really nice. The problem is that Dr. Lavender didn't want to use the core score for some reason. So you have all the technologies, but you just can't do this summary report. But you can do each individual test. And its report and the narratives and all that stuff is there for you. But if you want more information on the core score and anything else, send me an email. Happy to respond to you, okay? Thanks again for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed the food. We just thought we'd bring that to kind of make it easier to make it through the 9 or 10 o'clock, which you can have you here to do so. Thank you.
I really am bad. I got so excited to get here tonight and dive in with you guys. I hope you guys really, I know as students you get exposed to a lot of stuff, but there's people in this profession and therefore then companies, again, what's behind good companies, great companies, great people, who really are passionate about this chiropractic thing, and it's unbelievable to me that CLA supports me in the work that we do with Ebel Pediatrics, because that's just a place that I sought after. And so again, when you start up with school, start up with practice, buy a freaking substation, get out to Total Solutions. Starting tonight, isn't it? Actually, it's 100 Total Solutions, right? So it's 100 Total Solutions. My associate's flying out there tonight, one of our epic rockstar associates. It's incredible stuff. At Palmer, and I didn't know, I was flying, so I didn't get to connect with Brock as well today as I wanted to. I didn't know you guys had the capacity to do those and run those. Do that. Remember I was telling you, go out and learn all the community, talk as much as you can. You know what helps you become really good about talking about chiropractic and neurology? Having a substation scan that you have to interpret with your patients in the clinic. Run them as much as you possibly can. Get as familiar. We have the MyoVision. That's like a 1988 Casio flip phone version of the substation, all right, at Palmer. So get a substation and make hay with it while you're here. And then when you get out with it, get connected with that company. I'll say this about the core score. Again, it's unfortunate if you have all the technology and you don't. And they even have HRVs on their units, too, here. They have HRV. HRV, when it comes to adults, by far my favorite. I love thermal for kids about 0 to 3 and 5, okay? Then EMG becomes much more accurate about age 5. In our clinic, we run it on age 3, but we have 7 years experience in doing it. And then HRV isn't exactly, the HRV is where they have to sit there for 5 minutes and measures heart rate variability. It's adaptability. If you really start to understand the root philosophy of chiropractic and the science behind chiropractic and what we do, and that it roots in incoordination and lack of adaptability, and then you can actually measure an HRV and have metrics on it, the HRV scan for adults is my absolute favorite. And then you put a core score together, what are people used to? They're freaking blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides. Guys, this is another thing I'm surprised I haven't mentioned yet. There's a whole lot of stuff that medicine does a whole lot better than us. Getting people well, not one of them, right? Getting kids well, not one of them. Keeping kids healthy, not one of them. Not destroying kids' health, not one of them. But kicking our ass in the marketplace, right? Authority, interpretation, communication, certainty. You ever run into a medical doctor who lacks a little bit of confidence and certainty in what they do? Isn't that jacked up? Because if you really look behind what they do, how's it work? So what the heck is our problem? Their philosophy is so broken, so wrong, that no matter what they call science and pay people to say that they have science, science is faulty because the philosophy, the roots are faulty on it. Guys, if you want to make your practice come alive, get this technology. And for adults, we love the freaking core score, man. It matches up directly with my care plans, not treatment plans, with my care plans in my office. I use the metrics on the EMG and the thermal scan for kids. It's just freaking beautiful. I can't tell you how much it makes my work applicable. It's crazy. I could go on and on about it.
You know, one last thing I'd like to mention too, I forgot to mention, we do have financing. It's like $300 a month for the course for package, and under $200 for the program.
Yep. Yeah, I financed my first. I bought an older stuff. They've updated. It's like anything with software company and hardware company. They've updated. Don't feel like, I'm a little bit of an overspender. I'm like the anti-Dave Ramsey of the world, all right? I have like a dartboard of Dave Ramsey's face in my basement. I like to spend money, okay? I was $175,000. And again, this guy is, and when people say stats and they say money, they do this many a week or they make this much money. When you have authentic, sincere, successful guys that own these, there's actually some substance to those numbers and those stats and those things when they say them, because stats are, to me, they're a metric of impact, nothing else. And they're also a metric of whether I get to live an epic life or not, which is also what I signed up for. But where I'm going with this is, I know in school it's pretty common for people to put fear in you. You're going to get lawsuits, you're going to go broke, you have to accept insurance, you can't do this. And what they'll tell you is, we'll save your money in the beginning and buy cheap stuff and accept insurance in the beginning so you're more accepted. Pay attention to your Spencer man. Even with do all these things this way in the beginning, and then later on, as you start to get some money, then you can kind of climb the ladder and do these things. Most broke-ass recommendation you could ever get in your life, all right? You know why? Because if you start cheap and start small, guess where you will always stay? Cheap and small. So when you're ever going to get that money to upgrade? You're none. Okay? Can you be common sense about this and say, all right, so when I started my practice, I was seeing a whole bunch of kids always had, I didn't buy the HRV until about a year after it came out, and I could pay cash for it. That was just a move that I made. Dave Ramsey would be proud of that one. It's the one move I made in my life, all right, that I did that for. But what I'm saying is, I will give you a point of perspective that you should not be afraid of what you get to do in this profession. I graduated in 2007, all right? Literally, I graduated October 19th. It's like my oldest baby girl, Miss Addison, was born on October 5th. I graduated October 19th, and we opened our clinic 2 weeks later, yesterday, 7 years ago. Okay? I bought a 1,900 square, so I was $175,000 in debt from school. I went to Mexico a few too many times in undergrad, all right? And then I bought, and I graduated school right before the banking and real estate thing imploded. I'm also from a small town where my dad had banked at this bank for over 40 years for me, and I had started business when I was 16, so we had good rep. I had a 42-page business plan put together when I walked in there. It was a farmer bank, and it was when they were giving loans out very, very well. So again, applicable stuff. I'm going to circle this for you guys. So I could have wrote it on a bar napkin and said, hey, my last name is Ebel, and I'd like to borrow this money to buy this office and start this practice. They would have given it to me. I understand times are different. I'm going to get you to a place where they give you to be. So I then bought a building for $401,000, and then I spent and borrowed another $125,000 to put all the equipment, to put everything into it, and to have $50,000 of working capital for my first 6 months. So if you're good at math, we're about $750,000 in debt, which I would tell you, I want you to change the word debt, no matter your school loans, your time, or things you move on in practice, to investment. So I was $750,000 on the south side of that line, right? And I will tell you 7 years later, things aren't too bad, all right? You don't need to know details and all that sort of stuff, but what I will tell you is a lot of those loans that I took in the beginning don't exist anymore, okay? And I can tell you a lot of that money that I'm not rolling into those loans, I'm rolling into more investments to build a bigger clinic, because I literally, within the next 5 years, I will have a clinic that has a freaking hotel on it, and that I have a freaking charter air service that I've connected with. There's an airport close to my practice. Well, I've always had my vision of building a freaking Mayo clinic, but one that actually gets results, of pediatric chiropractic, okay? And that came because I had the fortitude to put $750,000 in to do it. So it was something came up on the parking we were joking about. You know what another number one thing that most chiropractors have from being successful? They spend 90% of their time bitching and complaining about the things that are so hard. But people don't like me, right? And they want to use their insurance, and they have to park a long ways away from my office. Come on, if chiropractors spent all the time talking about the stuff that we do well, that they do well, and focus on that, they would overpower their debt, they'd overpower their investment, they would rock and roll with it. Guys, I'm telling you, there's nothing, is there stuff that needs to be fixed in chiropractic? Yes. I'm not saying it's all, roses and kitty cats out there. But what I am saying is that you absolutely can kick ass with this. You do not have to have the fear of God in you, that you're not going to pay your loans back, that you're going to get sued, that you're going to get audited. You're not going to get audited. Do I have to answer that one for you? Don't go into tricks. Alright, so let's wrap this. Let's kind of keep moving forward. Another thing that comes alive in all of this, with clarity, with certainty, with your communication, is what are you really projecting to your community? Here's another beautiful thing about being a pediatric chiropractor versus being the everyday, average Joe chiropractor. Uniqueness. Standing out. Again, like I said, if you think you're going to leave Life University, graduate from chiropractic school, go into your community and say, hi, my name is Dr. Lawson, and I'm a chiropractor. So this is stuff you do have to do. You got to go to BNI meetings, you got to go to networking meetings, you got to go out, kiss baby, shake hands, you got to do that sort of stuff. Where I'm going with this is a very important example. If you go into these situations and you shake a hand and you say, hey, I'm Dr. Lawson, I'm a new chiropractor in town. As soon as you say the word chiropractor, what happens on their hard drive? What do they think? What do you do? Back pain, neck pain, headaches. You bill my insurance, you're a quack. You rub out tight knots in my lower region of the south gluteal. I don't remember a lot of anatomy. And they have good or bad perception of what you do. Bad. Now, again, you can become a great communicator. You can become a great chiropractor. You can memorize a lot of scripts to overcome that objection to do that sort of stuff. Or you can swim, I got it, this ladies and gentlemen, upstream, right from the beginning, and you can be different.
No.
Just frustrated. You can shake their hand and say, hey, my name is Dr. Tony, and I'm a pediatric chiropractor. And maybe some of you have heard me share this before, and I'm going to give you some context about this isn't a tip that you get to do if you don't do the work to actually become one. But the uniqueness of what I did 7 years ago, and actually even before I started my practice I was doing this, shaking hands in my town and saying I'm a pediatric chiropractor, because what I knew is that they had no freaking clue what that was.
So you mean pediatric chiropractor or pediatric carpenter?
Yeah, that's it. I did get on a plane one time, and so the plane conversation, everybody, yeah, where are you going? You know, you go to work, I'm a pediatric chiropractor, and some lady thought I said pediatric carpenter. I am a bit of a smart ass, I ran with it, and I told her I built a dollhouse. And I usually bat 1,000 on airplanes. There's some kid going to some chiropractor, well, now it's freaking awesome because I have almost 500 pediatric chiropractors across the country. So one of the freaking things that always paying me in 7 years of doing this work is I get asked for referrals all the time. social media, right? Connected. My sister's kid and I know, da-da-da. Or on the plane, right? You should have this incredible authority to tell the chiropractic story. If you want to talk about some cool stuff, you rock at communicating chiropractic on the plane when you're going to a different location. You know why? You're talking about some different chiropractor, so your fear of rejection goes away. Because if they say no, they don't live in your town, right? But yes, on that one, didn't work out so much. She was a little pissed because I was sarcastic with her about it. So that one didn't work. But most every single plane I go on to, I'm giving them my card. Actually, I don't do that anymore because then they have to, again, I'm all about efficiency. I take their information, take their number, take their email, and I find them a pediatric chiropractor wherever I land. I'm the sort of guy, you see people on Facebook, and again, I'm a big believer in The Secret, all those other sort of things, and again, stars and the moons. I don't know all about them, but I know that shit works. I'll leave it at that. That's my comment on it. But you see people on Facebook that are like, oh, man, O'Hare, I'm going to get delayed again and probably get sat next to the crying baby, and I'm going to have to park a long ways away. Guess what happens to those people? They have to park a long ways away, they get delayed, and they sit next to the crying baby, okay, every time. I actually like to sit next to the crying baby, okay? Because then I can educate them about pediatric chiropractic. And then I'll be like, hey, I've got 4 kids of my own. Let me just hold your kid up for a little bit. You take a breather. And I adjust them, they don't even know what to do with it. Depends on how long the flight is. Scotland, I would have done that. How I got there from this slide, I don't have a clue. But what I do know is that pediatric chiropractic, okay, is your focus, your projection, what you communicate. So here's the word that comes alive. This is now marketing. This is now business, ladies and gentlemen. You want to help people? Learn about business, okay? Learn about marketing. Learn about sales. Learn about communication. My brand has been clear in chiropractic. Lawson's first freaking quarter, Lawson, stand now. Show me your freaking handlebar mustache, because that's probably all right. Lawson can also overhead squat me. But in Crystal Lake, and again, guys, please know the context of this and have a journey share this, all this. It ain't about me. It's just not how I'm wired. But if you go to Crystal Lake and you ask somebody about Dr. Tony at Premier Wellness Chiropractic, what do they think we do?
We get shit done.
Yeah, see, who do we take care of?
We take our kids.
Yeah. It's just this context. And if you go to any other place on that, it's not about the words. It's just not about the colors. It's just not about the script. It's about everything you do has to have this clarity that you're about one thing, that you're the best in the world at it, and that you're the most passionate about it. And I will tell you, and again, this is one of those things where it gets in this deep, dirty stuff with this and very in-your-face stuff with it. But if you're in Crystal Lake and you have a kiddo with colic, if you have a kid with ADHD, if you have a kid with ear infections, or if you are just and what I like to call an SUV driving, Lulu wearing, wellness minded mom, also known as my ideal patient. Honestly, it is. We have 2 ideal patients. We love to take care of kids who have a lot of troubles. I have an obsession with difficult, tough, clinical, complex cases where I see their altered neurology come alive on scans, and I get to go to work. My team of doctors, my staff, we go to work. We unlock, we unravel, we restore, we balance tone, we coordinate those kids. I love freaking seizure-challenging cases, all right? So that's my ideal case. So my community knows about the perfect storm. That drum beats loudly in my town, and they know that drum, the end of that rainbow is pediatric chiropractic. The end of that rainbow is an adjustment, not fish oil. The end of that rainbow is Premier Wellness Chiropractic and my doctors and myself, not anybody else. And then my ideal target, the people we love, is the prevention of the perfect storm. Is the people who kind of think like us, drive like us, talk like us, walk like us, and would dig chiropractic, right? The wellness-minded folks. And I do share, and again, I went to school at $175,000. I'm not shy of any of this whatsoever. And if I'm if I'm going to take care of my clinic, to take care of my team, to take care of my family, to live the life that I want to live outside of Monday through Thursday, then I'm going to go after people who can pay cash for my services because I'm really, really good at what I do. Hence the Lulu SUV driving mom, okay? Again, you have to be comfortable with this stuff. And the other beautiful thing, because I mentioned it, so I want to say it, the other beautiful thing when you kick ass successfully in practice and you have a profitable practice where you have a lot of money and you have a lot of impact, is you can take that money and you can do a lot of good with it. You can take on hardship cases. You can take on pro bono cases. You can go to different clinics in your town and do pro bono work. That's when it really becomes fun. When you do it because you get to, not because you got to. That's when it's freaking fun to do this work. But the way you get there is with absolute clarity in what you do. There literally is another practice that opened in my town. You can read it on their website. That has what in their name? Family. I don't even have that in my name. Wish I had known a little bit more about this 7 years ago. But I have. They have that in their name. What does that say to you? Pediatrics, colic, ADHD, family wellness? Not so much. It says, why the hell do you need to work out with a lady in a stethoscope and a white jacket?
Is that the one that opened up the unit now?
It's on the internet. Yeah.
I forget these things.
And here's the deal. I can only share this with you if I'm being 100% authentic and true. I freaking think these are awesome people. I met them. I saw that they were opening up. I heard that they were opening up. I walked them right after they opened up. I went there on my lunch break. I took my card. I scheduled time, and I'm all about scheduling organization. I'm a busy dude, and my time is very, very valuable to me. And I took time, and I went over to them, and I had my whole lunch hour. I chatted with them. I gave them my card. I gave them a gift card to Conscious Cup. I said, hey, I've been here for 7 years. I know a lot about chiropractic. I know what's worked. I know what hasn't. Let me help you. Let me guide you. Let me mentor you. Let me help you. Let's talk about the Blue Cross versus going casting. Let's go through all this. I'm here to help. Wish somebody had done that to me 7 years ago. And there's 45 chiropractors in Crystal Lake. I don't know personally. I don't know any of them, actually. None of them. None of them reached out to me 7 years ago when I opened up. And so I guess I feel comfortable saying this because I wish to God that it was different for them. I honestly, 110%, completely true and authentic, wish that their website, 3 blocks down the street from me, looked exactly like mine and they kicked ass at seeing kids. I wish they had the level of clinical certainty and skill that I do. I wish they had the level of communication and clarity in pediatric chiropractic than I do, because we can do a hell of a lot more good together than I'm doing on my own. I'm not afraid of competition, and you shouldn't be afraid. If we see 3.4% of the population, get out your iPhone, take 100 minus 3.4, that's how many people can still come into your office, all right? If you're not successful, you got a problem. Now carry that to kids. We see less than 1% of the population of kids. McDonald's, Target, Coca-Cola, Apple would kill for that open market share, all right? So stop buying into the BS excuses that people who have not succeeded, people who are not succeeding,